your avocados are funding a criminal empire. It's the symbol of a healthy lifestyle, the heart of our favorite dip. It's on our toast, in our salads, and piled high in our grocery stores. We buy billions of pounds of them every single year. But what if the secret ingredient in your avocado toast is a criminal empire? What if I told you that this simple fruit is now so valuable it's nicknamed green gold, and that this gold is funding a war? How did a superfood become the new cash crop for some of the most violent criminal organizations on the planet? We followed the money from the supermarket shelf all the way back to the heart of the conflict, and what we found is a story of extortion, turf wars, and a bloody battle for control that implicates every single person who buys an avocado. Section 1. The setup, green gold. To understand how we got here, you first need to get the sheer scale of the avocado boom. In the last 2 decades, demand has absolutely exploded. The United States alone now imports well over 2 billion pounds of avocados from Mexico every year, with consumption per person more than quintupling since the early 2000s. The total value of US avocado imports from Mexico regularly tops $2.5 billion annually. And the epicenter of this global obsession is a single state in western Mexico, Michoacán. Its unique volcanic soil and climate make it the perfect place to grow avocados year-round. For a long time, Michoacán was the only state in Mexico certified to export to the massive US market, turning it into the undisputed avocado capital of the world. In fact, about 8 out of every 10 avocados imported into the US come from Mexico, with the vast majority of those originating in Michoacán. This boom lifted thousands of people out of poverty. It created jobs, built towns, and generated incredible wealth. But when an agricultural product becomes this profitable, this concentrated, and this essential, it doesn't just attract entrepreneurs, it attracts predators. The smell of money was too strong, and soon the cartels came calling. Section 2. The inciting incident, the cartel's entry. The story of the cartel's entry into the avocado business is really a story of diversification. For years, criminal organizations in Mexico focused on drug trafficking. But as crackdowns intensified and other markets shifted, they started operating less like gangs and more like multinational corporations with diversified portfolios. They needed new, stable revenue streams, and they saw a goldmine in the avocado orchards of Michoacán. It started with a simple, brutal business model: extortion. Cartels began demanding a quota, or a protection payment from farmers. Pay up, and you can harvest and sell your crop. Refuse, and your orchard could be burned, your family could be kidnapped, or you could be killed. These aren't small-time shakedowns. Criminal groups demand payments per kilo marketed or per hectare farmed, systematically bleeding the profits from the very people who grow the fruit. This isn't just one group, it's a complex web of violent organizations. Groups like the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, La Familia Michoacana, and Los Viagras all began fighting for a piece of the green gold pie. They realized that controlling avocados was in some ways more stable than controlling drugs. The demand was legal, global, and relentless. They had found the perfect commodity to exploit. Section 3. The investigation, following the bloody money trail. So, how does this violence connect to the avocado in your kitchen? The trail begins where the extortion is most concentrated, the supply chain itself. The first stop is the packing plants. These are the facilities where avocados are sorted, packed, and prepared for export. They are prime targets. Cartels know that these plants have cash and they have been repeatedly robbed. But the extortion is even more systematic. Packers and exporters are forced to pay massive fees just to operate, a cost that gets baked into the final price of the product. From there, the trail leads out into the fields, into the heart of the turf wars. The billion-dollar avocado industry has become a prize over which cartels wage war. Groups like the hyper-violent CJNG are in a near-constant battle with local alliances like Carteles Unidos, a coalition of smaller gangs, for control of the avocado-producing territories. These conflicts aren't fought in the shadows. They are literal battles, with homemade armored vehicles, drone warfare, and public displays of horrific violence designed to terrorize rivals and the local population. In recent years, Uruapan, the region's main avocado hub, has been the epicenter of this war, with dozens of criminal groups fighting for control. This brings us to the most devastating part of the money trail, the human cost. The violence isn't just between cartels. It spills over into every aspect of life. Farmers are kidnapped for ransom, truckers who transport the avocados are hijacked, and their valuable cargo is stolen. As many as 4 truckloads a day have been reported stolen in Michoacán. In one incident, highway bandits made off with over 40 tons of avocados in 2 separate ambushes. Even the US government inspectors, who are required to certify the orchards for export, have been threatened, assaulted, and detained, leading to temporary bans on all avocado imports from the region. In the face of this terror, and often in the absence of effective government protection, some communities have been forced to take matters into their own hands. Farmers and townspeople have formed their own armed self-defense groups, or auto-defensors. In towns like Tancítaro, growers have pooled their money to buy weapons and create their own police force to guard checkpoints. However, the lines can blur, with some self-defense groups like Pueblos Unidos also being accused of criminal activity, further complicating the conflict. Section 4. The revelation: consumer complicity. So we arrive at the final uncomfortable stop on this bloody money trail: the grocery store aisle. Every avocado that makes it out of this conflict zone and onto a shelf in the United States, Europe, or anywhere else has passed through this system. A system where its value has been inflated by extortion payments and its journey has been shadowed by violence. This is the revelation. Our consumption is the engine. The global insatiable demand for a cheap year-round supply of avocados is what makes the industry so profitable and therefore so attractive to criminal organizations. As long as the demand remains high and consumers are disconnected from the source, the system continues. The question then becomes, are we, the consumers, funding this war? The answer is complicated. The lines between legal business and organized crime have become so deeply blurred that it's nearly impossible to distinguish a clean avocado from a conflict avocado. The entire industry in the region operates under the shadow of cartel influence. A simple boycott is not the answer, as it would devastate the hundreds of thousands of legitimate farmers and workers who depend on the industry for their survival. Experts suggest that the only long-term path forward involves creating certified, conflict-free supply chains, but implementing such a system across a region controlled in part by powerful, violent cartels is a monumental challenge. The industry has grown in parallel with the violence, not in spite of it. Section 5. How they control the Mexican government. The cartel's power doesn't just come from guns. It comes from their deep entanglement with the state itself. Organized crime has infiltrated and corrupted local and state government, creating a system where they can operate with impunity. They bribe officials to ignore their activities or even issue permits that guarantee cartel control over avocado-producing areas. This political criminal collusion runs from the bottom to the top. Local police forces are often infiltrated or outgunned, with corrupt cops being run off the force by mayors who are then targeted for assassination. In fact, politicians who try to stand up to the cartels often pay the ultimate price. In recent years, Michoacán has been one of the most violent states for political figures, with a wave of assassinations of mayors and candidates intended to send a clear message: we can get to anyone. This grip on local power allows cartels to essentially govern. In some areas, it is the cartels, not the government, that control the economy and the population. The federal government has been largely unable to curb this infiltration. Crackdowns and arrests have occurred, with dozens of local officials detained for alleged ties to cartels like La Familia Michoacana. However, these efforts often collapse in the courts, and the deep-seated corruption remains, leaving many to believe that parts of Mexico are on the verge of becoming a narco-state. The story of the avocado is a paradox. It's a story of a healthy superfood and a sick system. It's a story of economic prosperity for some, built on the fear and exploitation of others. We started with a simple piece of toast and ended in the middle of a turf war. We've seen how a fruit became green gold, and how that gold finances a criminal empire that extorts, kidnaps, and murders to maintain its control. The Mexican government has been largely unable to curb the cartel's infiltration of the sector, and so the cycle continues. The avocado you buy is the end product of a long, complex, and often violent journey. And now you know that its story is more than just green. It's the color of money, and sometimes the color of blood. The next time you see an avocado, you'll have to ask yourself, what is its true cost? If you want to understand more about the hidden side of our global economy and the complex stories behind the products we use every day, subscribe for more investigations like this.